very vocal, especially because I am not confused on what I want to communicate on any show that I work on. I found my voice, and even when I find a show that is just vanity of vanity, I still make an input for room to introduce narrative that will be meaningful, despite carrying and ticking all the other boxes. My name is Valentino. Mathibela is my surname. I hail from Limpopo, that's where I was born and bred in Mokopane. I first came into the film industry after realizing that I had made a mistake by registering for production management in civil engineering after I had been aspiring to work in television. And then I went and studied film and motion picture. While I was at WITS, we were making student docu's and films and anything that was a project. One of them was a hook, and I was headhunted by Curious Pictures at the time, and I was called to come and direct my first job on Latitude, which was a Lebo Mashile-driven reality show on SABC. And I started working as a director while I was doing my thesis, and I've been directing ever since. And then documentary, for me, I've done a few, but Rosemary's Hit List, ooh, that was life-changing. I think I was naive, like most South Africans, in terms of authority abuse, in terms of power abuse, but also in terms of how illiteracy can make you a victim. I've seen things that were shocking every day when I spoke to her and did her story and talking to her families. But I was also shocked at a lot of things that I never conceived to be possible, you know, including her victims were people that are unimaginable, that one could actually do that to a circle that she's supposed to protect as a mother, as a policewoman, as a daughter, as a sister, as someone with power, you know? And also the ritual side of it, which we didn't unveil a lot because obviously there's timelines and there's also like only a certain cap in terms of duration of how much of the story you can tell. I found her to be quite mysterious. So sitting down with her, I then realized, because I surprised myself, that at some point I ended up, I don't know if it was the temptation or the grace, but I ended up finding myself, extending grace for her, you know? And I was actually like feeling sorry for her, you know? Some of my team, the producers that I was working with, they were actually mad at me to say, what is wrong with you? And I said, you have not sat across her as much as I have, you know? I remember one day I went to see her and she was like, so when are you coming back? I said, I think I'll be back in a week or two. What do you need? She's like, I need this, I need that. I said, okay, let's make a list. And we went back with a content producer to take them back, to take her stuff. And she was so grateful. And that changed how I look at her. I saw her for the first time as a human being, before a murderer, before this cruel woman who has done things that are gut-wrenching, you know? So I was conflicted. Denzel for talent, Idris for hotness.
So girl wants to take everything.
Yes.
Why Denzel?
I love him because he's multifaceted. Yes, sometimes we do want that bubblegum, very vain scene because we are a very traumatized society. Every day, about South Africa movie, you know, there's always something that's breaking news, and it's like we're here, you know. The breaking news are always like hectic, like proper breaking news. So people need an outlet also where they can actually escape, because our medium is also meant to serve that box of escapism. So we must then also entertain. However, while we entertain, we also subconsciously need to mark the points and opportunities of informing, educating, impacting, and also intervening, because most of the time the shows that we make, you may have that one family, but it represents 100 other families. So when they come across a certain hurdle, we must be authentic in how we approach that trouble or that problem on a reality show, because someone will be able to tell and call you bluff if you are not authentic in how you approach that story. For example, with housewives, they will tell you the sun is always shining in housewives. So you're always clean, you're always beautifully lit, you're always beautifully composed, your pictures are beautiful, which is why you go for the upper market kind of cast. But when you cast, there must be story with your cast. Some of them must have a story that will keep people hooked. Otherwise, it's just a long commercial. And I am very vocal about it all the time. And if I find that there is no story to tell, I would rather lose a cast member and look for another that has a story, because there's no point pointing a camera, but there's nothing to tell. Book. None. I think I am into Shonda Rhimes because she has really broken boundaries. And then there's Ava. But just from Ava, I loved When They See Us. But we have a lot of ills, social ills, that come up in these reality shows, bullying being one of them. And sometimes the typical storyline that I dealt with was women that find themselves in situations that they did not ask for, and they are labeled ugly names simply because they bought into a lie by a man. And now these women become enemies, and now this enmity is what is cheered, and the man is always held in high esteem, despite the fact that they're the catalyst of this situation. They created this situation. But it was an opportunity to say, we don't have to eat each other up. Let's actually get to the core of how we got here, only to find that both women are actually innocent. But can they sit down and talk? They found it in each other to be able to humble themselves and reach out to each other and talk amongst themselves and realize that you are not wrong and I am not wrong. Actually here, there's a common denominator, and that's the problem. Look into,
I know what you're talking about the first series.
Yes. And now if you look into society, it's still happening to a point where if you don't believe as Tenjini, you find yourself having believed a lie. Then later on, you realize that, hang on, I was lied to. You make a choice that may actually end up with people that are not informed about that choice, labeling you all sorts of names, only to find that actually you were blind spotted. You didn't know that you're getting into a relationship with someone that is actually altogether committed. I feel like after doctors, we should be the most well paid, but we are not, except doctors are saving lives and we are not. So maybe that's why. In South Africa, we have not come to a point where we understand that, firstly, the sector is not properly divided. We have the Department of Sports, Arts and Culture. The arts alone is a sector. It shouldn't be sports, arts and culture. It should be the Department of Sport. I was an athlete, and I can tell you that in athletics alone, there is various codes, right? Yes. So it was already so vast. And then I am in the arts, but in the arts alone, you have different crafts. And from painting to Avmam Esther, to us who are entertainers within this industry, then you have musicians, you have all kinds of artists who are creating audiovisual medium artistry. Then you have culture. Culture alone, we have 11 official languages. How many tribes? How many tribes? Which is why our children don't even know their culture, because we are not even properly sector divided. We've just taken these very big industries and then put them into this melancholy. And now the fiscal year comes and only one budget is allocated to take care of all these needs. It's not gonna work.